Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about greenwashing. Let's see how angry I get in this video because I hate greenwashing. Okay, this is something that I've been anticipating for a long time. It's something that really gets me fired up about the environmentalist movement, the zero waste movement, and that is the straight up lying of companies to get them to sell more products even though they're not eco-friendly. That's a bit of an exaggeration, though not really. So let me read to you exactly what a few different sources determine that greenwashing is. Greenwashing is the portrayal of false impressions or providing misleading information about a company and or their products. It is seemingly eco-friendly marketing that is used to deceive customers into thinking the brand, product, or service is actually sustainable. Simply put, it is making people believe that your company is doing more to protect the earth than it actually is. One quick thing before we dive too far into this, if you find that I talk a little bit too fast for you, there are two things that you can do. You can check out the script linked down below in the description, and two, if you don't prefer to read along, you can actually use a little gear icon right here to change the speed of this video to something that works best for you. So now let's talk about why greenwashing is a problem. Why is it a problem that seemingly wasteful companies call themselves eco-friendly, call themselves green? This is problematic because customers new to the zero waste movement or customers who just want to have less of an impact will go for these products, even though they are no more sustainable than their regular line of products. It's when you're new to the zero waste movement, when you're new to trying to shop more eco-friendly, it is very hard to distinguish between actual eco-friendly and greenwashing. That is the purpose of this video, to educate you a bit more about what greenwashing is and how to spot it for yourselves. People are willing to pay more money for eco-friendly products, while 50% of consumers are actually more concerned about buying an eco-friendly product than a non-eco-friendly product. So the more that greenwashing becomes popular, the more that this becomes an issue. This means that a lot of people will probably buy seemingly green, seemingly eco-friendly products from Tide, Coca-Cola, P&G, what's the other big one? Unilever, instead of supporting smaller businesses that are actually taking sustainability into consideration. So by doing this, these wasteful companies, these wasteful corporations continue to make money off of their lies, really, off of their schemes, and instead the actual eco-friendly businesses aren't getting the business that they deserve. So now let's talk about some examples that I've seen firsthand. The first one I'd like to talk about is Tide. I couldn't find what I needed, and then I just decided to walk around the store and see all the different kinds of greenwashing that I could notice. So the first one is Tide. It is Tide Pure Clean, and it was in the whole big aisle of their bright orange bottles, but this clear bottle was sitting there amongst them, claiming to be eco-friendly. Why? And that's the most important thing to ask yourself when trying to spot greenwashing, is questioning the company. When they claim to be eco-friendly, why? And dig into that company, dig into the product, and a lot of times it will be on the label. If you're shopping online, it will be in their about section, it'll be in the product description. So I asked myself, why is this detergent eco-friendly? Here's what the bottle said. The bottle said that it is made from renewable energy, has 0 dyes, and the bottle is recyclable. I almost lost my mind in the store. So let me just clear up a few things. First off, if Tide was actually concerned with being eco-friendly, which they're not, they would produce all of their products without dyes. They would produce all of their products with renewable energy, but they don't. And that's because they're targeting the green movement. They're targeting zero waste people. They're not trying to change their whole brand because they don't really care. That's the key thing to think about is this an actual green product, or is this just a seemingly green product that a big wasteful company is trying to promote to make more money? Not to mention, they state that it is eco-friendly because the bottle is recyclable. Their plastic bottle is recyclable. That does not make a product eco-friendly in the slightest. That is just a perk. Yay! You dug up some oil and turned it into a bottle and I can recycle it. It's just kind of one of those things that's putting the blame on the consumer, taking the blame off of Tide themselves. Like I said, this is a good step. If you don't have access to other options and you have to choose between Tide in the orange bottle and Tide in the clear bottle, choose the Tide in the clear bottle because it really is a little bit better. I'm not really sure how much better it actually is. Even if it is greenwashing, even if it is a wasteful company, if more and more people buy that stuff, they actually might realize one day that that's actually where the market is and they should just change their entire practice to being more sustainable. The second example that I have seen firsthand is these dish scrubbers. I saw this in the same grocery trip and I saw these neutral color, neutral packaging. That's another hint to greenwashing. Next to their brightly colored, plastic packaged siblings. I guess that's I think it's Scotch Brite is the brand. That's their normal product. Brightly colored plastic sponges wrapped in plastic. Because there are sustainable brands out there that can be neutral colors, neutral packaging, cardboard. But when it's a wasteful product right next to an eco-friendly one, that's when you can kind of be like, okay, this is a trick. This is a scam. So the front of this packaging said greener, cleaner. And I'm like, okay, what makes it greener than these plastic ones? So I flip it over and this is what I see. It says 50% of scrubbing fibers made from plants, and then the packaging is made from 100% recycled recycled content and is recyclable. Congrats, your packaging is recyclable. Again, we already established that is putting the blame on the consumer that does not make a product green. Sure, 50% of this is made from plants, that's great. But the other 50% is most likely made out of plastic. I would not be so mad if it was 100% natural material, because then it could at least be composted. This seemingly natural sponge has to still be thrown into the trash and still will take millions of years to break down. Moving on to the third example, I actually saw this one when I was picking up litter, and I saw a water bottle from Niagara. This one's pretty simple, kind of like the Tide example. I look at it, it's got fancy green font. I don't think I have a picture of it. I'll try to find one on the internet. And then it says in small print, bottle is recyclable. It said something else too, like this is our eco-friendly bottle, and it said this bottle is recyclable. I'm like, all of your bottles are recyclable. And again, it does not make a product green. That is just putting the blame on the consumer, and it is just an example of greenwashing. Greenwashing can also be anything from oil companies and meat companies encouraging people to ride their bikes to reduce their impact, coal companies asking people to turn off their lights to reduce electricity use, and other things like that. We will talk about some more examples later in the video. So I mentioned asking myself the question of, why is this product considered eco-friendly? There are a few more questions that I ask myself too to determine if something is being greenwashed or not. Of course, why is this product eco-friendly? What does this brand say about this product that makes it eco-friendly? Who makes this product, and are they known to be wasteful or not? Are all of their products like this? Is their entire line like this one eco-friendly product? Or is this a special campaign or line? I think these are all very important questions to ask, because there are some small brands out there that will fall victim to greenwashing, whether on accident or not. But honestly, it's big companies that are mostly at fault. Things like I said, Tide, P&G, Coca-Cola, all those big brands targeting green marketing because they know it's valuable. And instead of changing their entire company, they just release a special eco line. And that's how you can really tell when you see this one eco-friendly looking bottle of Tide next to all their big orange bottles. You can kind of determine, like, okay, Tide still doesn't really care. They're doing this for the money. So now we're going to jump into some types of greenwashing, some greenwashing marketing schemes, as well as some common words to look out for. So some words that you should look out for are made of recycled material, natural, green, eco-friendly, low impact, recyclable, biodegradable. So sure, these can all be facts, but just because something's biodegradable, just because something's recyclable, just because it's partly made out of natural material does not make it eco-friendly. Something important to note is that truly sustainable brands won't throw in these fluff words. They will state the facts, like, hey, we are certified B Corporation. Hey, we use 100% organic cotton. And then it's up to you as a consumer to make the assumption that, oh, this is a sustainable, eco-friendly company. They don't just straight up say, we're sustainable, buy from us. So I guess that's the big difference, is because big companies will seem a little bit too obvious, like they just flaunt around the fact that this one product is eco-friendly, when smaller brands won't typically flaunt that sort of stuff. They'll leave it up to the consumer's discretion. Another thing, like I mentioned with Niagara and even these Scotch-Brite cleaning sponges, is using pretty fonts, using green font, using neutral color packaging. And like I mentioned earlier, of course, some smaller brands might also use neutral, eco-friendly packaging, but they use it for all their products. Like Scotch-Brite, they only use it for their eco product. They don't use the cardboard for their neon sponges as well. My biggest tip is to research the company, look into the ingredients, look into the brand, look into the product, dig a little bit deep instead of just being like, that's cardboard instead of plastic, I'm buying it. I mean, of course, it is better. I'm not gonna say to never buy the more eco-friendly product, even if it's not the most eco-friendly product. Always try to find a better option. Always try to find a smaller, actually certified, organic certified, eco-friendly brand. So now let's talk about some things to look out for when it comes to greenwashing. First, like I mentioned several times so far, is generally wasteful companies promoting a seemingly eco-friendly product. Or other things like using green ads, green campaigns, talking about how much they care about the earth on Instagram. Do you think Tide really cares about the earth? Do you think Shell and BP actually care about the earth? So if you see companies like this promoting eco-friendly practices and products, they probably are only doing it for the profit. I already talked about how much this next one makes me mad, and that is claims of it being recyclable. Who cares if your plastic bottle is recyclable? Some people might. If you missed my plastic video about where does our plastic waste go, I talk about how plastic is only recycled once or twice. Plastic cannot be recycled infinitely, so once it goes to the end of its life, it has to stay on this earth for thousands, if not millions of years in order to break down. Not to mention, with the incredibly low recycling rate across the US, it really doesn't matter if something is recyclable or not. It's most likely going to end up in the trash or the ocean anyway. Of course, the actual trash can should be a last resort, but recycling should not be too far in front of it. recycling should be a last resort as well. Another thing to look out for is hidden trade-offs. So for example, Starbucks recently released this new lid in order to prevent straws from being used. This new lid is made out of plastic. Not to mention, it's a very thin plastic, which means it almost certainly cannot be recycled. Plus, if it's contaminated with coffee and whipped cream, it can't be recycled anyway. So hidden trade-offs like that, it's like, hey, look at all the straws we're saving from going into the ocean, but please don't look at all this plastic that we're creating behind the scenes. Another one is no proof in their claims, like companies just throwing around the phrases sustainable and eco-friendly and green, like, but where's your proof? What makes your product eco-friendly? So some things to look out for this are actually listing organic ingredients or sustainably sourced ingredients like fair trade, certified B Corporation, 1% for the planet even, and other generally eco-friendly certifications. The list of words I mentioned earlier, definitely look out for those general, fluffy, and generally green words. These are just very vague and there's no real definition for these words when it comes to marketing. Anyone can use them if they think that their product meets those standards, which in comparison to their normal products, it does. Another thing to look out for is the lesser of two evils, and this can be applied to the Starbucks example as well. The plastic lids as opposed to the straws is the lesser of two evils, but it's still not sustainable. It's still not eco-friendly. Another thing to look out for is actual lying or missing information, skewing data, or anything like that. This next one makes me so angry too, and that is bioplastics. I'm gonna try to not get angry, and I'm going to try to keep this very brief because I want to do an in-depth video about bioplastics in the future, so stay tuned for that. But in short, bioplastics are just as bad as plastic if they cannot be composted. Bioplastics are great. It is a really great alternative to plastic. Our country, the United States, is not equipped to handle bioplastics yet. We don't have very many industrial composting facilities, and by putting too much bioplastic into your own compost, it just can't be healthy. So a majority of the bioplastics end up in the garbage, where it takes just as long for a bioplastic as regular plastic to decompose. So if a company is like, we're eco-friendly because we're made out of a bioplastic, I've seen this a lot with like makeup remover wipes, bioplastic cups, bioplastic bags, and they're all like, we're so great, we're eco-friendly. I'm like, no, you're not. It would be great if these companies had like a take-back program, like, hey, when you're done with your makeup remover wipes, send them to us and we'll compost them. That would be great, but they don't. And consumers don't understand these products need to be composted. They're just like, bioplastic is so great for the environment. I'm gonna put it in the trash in a plastic bag where it will never break down. People don't actually know that, and that's what really hurts, is that companies are promoting bioplastics like it's the best thing on the planet, but the companies are not telling us how to properly dispose of them, so we as consumers just assume that they're fantastic, but they're not. Be sure to hit subscribe, hit the bell for post notifications if you don't want to miss my video about bioplastics. I would estimate it to be out sometime in November. I'm gonna put that into my Where Does Our Waste Go series. So hope you're interested in that. Another thing to look out for with greenwashing is images like the recycle symbol, mountains, trees, flowers, bees, whales, whatever. Companies will do this a lot of times. Like, I'm just trying to think of an example. Say for example, Starbucks was doing their no straw campaign with their special new lids, and they were including pictures of like the bees and turtles because straws kill turtles. That's another example of greenwashing because it kind of like pulls on your heartstrings, like, oh my gosh, yes, straws kill turtles, let me just use this plastic lid instead. And the last one I want to talk about is third-party companies. I don't really know a better word for this, but basically it is big companies like Coca-Cola, P&G, Unilever, making small little companies within their big company. The brand is Honest Tea. That's made by Coca-Cola if you didn't know. They're all over the place. People will buy these juices for their kids, their teas for themselves. A lot of them come in glass. They look very modern, very aesthetically pleasing. They look very sustainable. They really do. But they're made by Coca-Cola. And that's what you need to look out for, is if you see a smaller brand and you're like, oh my gosh, this is like the holy grail of sustainable that I can find in my grocery store, flip it over and see who actually makes it, because it's honestly too often the case that these seemingly sustainable brands will be created by big wasteful companies who actually don't care at all about the planet. Because if you didn't know, Coca-Cola is the #1 polluter in the entire world. So I want to end this video by saying that not all greenwashing is malicious. Some greenwashing is by mistake. If a brand is newer and they're starting out, they might be so excited that their brand is sustainable, so they slap that on everything, and then someone comes in and is like, those are fluff words, I don't know if I should trust this. So the biggest thing is to not just go off of one example of greenwashing. If they use fluff words, also check if they're certified, also check if they're owned by a bigger company, check all these sorts of things. I know it might seem like time consuming, like it takes a lot of energy, but with some practice, it'll just take you a few seconds to flip over a package, look at the ingredients, look at what the company's claims are, and things like that. So I really encourage you to look into the products you're buying, look into the companies that you're supporting, and see if they are actually eco-friendly, if they are actually sustainable, or if they're just a wasteful company in disguise. The biggest thing for me, and I think it should be the biggest concern for you too, because while it is definitely not okay for anyone to be greenwashing. I think it is extremely terrible of big companies to trick us into buying green products. But basically that's what it boils down to, is these companies promoting their eco-friendly products to us, even though they're still just as wasteful as their regular products. Another thing too is to look into transparent companies. Not all big companies are bad either. Patagonia is known for being one of the biggest, most sustainable brands out there. But another important thing too with Patagonia is that they're honest. They're like, we know we're not perfect, but we're trying. And that really matters a lot to me too, is it's basically the opposite of greenwashing. It's, I don't know what you would call that, but instead of Tide saying, we're this big wasteful company, but buy our eco-friendly product, Patagonia's like, hey, we know we're wasteful. We don't expect you to buy any of our products. And honestly, I think honesty does really help them in a sense. And I'm not trying to say Patagonia is a terrible company and they're wasteful or anything. They are really a good company, but they admit to not being perfect too. Overall, greenwashing is bad and it's tricky to spot, unfortunately. I hope that this video shed some light on greenwashing, helped explain it a little bit better, and I hope that it helps you to make the determination for yourself when it comes to what is greenwashing and what is not. My rule of thumb for myself is use what I have first. If I don't have it, can I borrow it or can I find it secondhand? Then I go to a sustainable brand. If I absolutely have to buy something from a big brand, I'll do it, but it's literally my last resort. And I hope that becomes the same for you too as you embark on your zero waste journey. Buy secondhand, make stuff yourself, then consult sustainable sources. And it really is easy to just do a quick Google search for anything like sustainably sourced tennis shoes. I need eco-friendly socks. I need eco-friendly laundry detergent. Anything like that is really helpful. And I encourage you to do that as much as possible, as opposed to just driving to Walmart and getting something from Tide. But of course, this does come with privilege. Please buy what you need. Use what you have accessible to you. If your only option is Tide, pick their eco-friendly option as opposed to the regular version, of course. What I'm saying is, if you do have the option, you do have the accessibility to try to pick a more sustainable brand. I hope that you are now able to confidently go out to the store and be able to be like, that's greenwashing, that's not. And I hope that this helps you pick out better brands to choose from. If you have any questions about greenwashing, definitely leave them down below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. This is not the end of me talking about greenwashing. I'm sure I'm going to talk about it more in the future. It is something that makes me the most angry when it comes to the zero waste movement. So this is not where the conversation is going to end. So if you have any ideas about what other topics I should cover when it comes to greenwashing, definitely let me know. Of course, if you're new here, I really appreciate you watching this video. And if you're not subscribed yet, I really encourage you to do so. I talk about all sorts of things zero waste here on this channel, specifically practical sustainability, where I talk about free and easy ways to live low waste. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, remember that these small changes you make have a big impact in the long run. Bye guys. So greenwashing is the portrayal of force? Greenwashing is the portrayal of false. It's pronounced false.